Picture this, two elite athletes on the mat, explosive kicks, lightning-fast combinations. You know, when you watch a high-level Taekwondo match, you're seeing pure, unadulterated power and speed. It's a sport made of these incredible, explosive moments. But what if I told you the real secret to winning isn't just about that explosion of power, but what happens in those quiet little moments in between?
Okay, so let's just jump right into it with a question that honestly seems a little weird on the surface. When we see these powerful, sometimes fight-ending techniques, is it possible we're actually watching an endurance sport, just in disguise? Well, that's exactly what a team of scientists wanted to find out.
All right, first things first. Let's talk about the common assumption. You know, what we think fuels these incredible athletes. It's got to be all about those fast, powerful movements, right? So, on one hand, the common view is pretty simple. Taekwondo is all about those short, sharp, anaerobic bursts of power. You know, like a sprinter. But on the other hand, the deeper scientific question is, what really keeps an athlete going through 3 full, grueling rounds of combat? Where does that energy truly come from when it counts?
To get that answer, researchers basically brought the fight right into the laboratory. It was time to get a real look under the hood of these athletes while they were actually competing.
And the setup here was really detailed. They took 10 elite, international-level Taekwondo athletes and had them fight a simulated match, 3 2-minute rounds, 1 minute of rest in between, just like a real competition. And while all this was happening, they measured everything: their oxygen intake, the lactate levels in their blood, their heart rate, all while filming them to analyze every single second of action and inaction.
And the results were, well, they were definitely not what most people would expect. To really get what they found, let's do a super quick rundown of our body's 3 main energy systems.
So first up, you've got the anaerobic alactic system. Just think of this as your rocket fuel. It's what powers a single, massive, explosive kick, but it's gone in just a few seconds. Poof!
Then there's the aerobic system. This is your endurance engine. It's not as flashy or explosive, but it's incredibly efficient. And here's the key part. This is the system that recharges your rocket fuel during every single pause in the action.
And finally, we have the anaerobic lactic system. This is the one that causes the burn, from lactic acid. But as we're about to see, it's actually a surprisingly minor player in this whole story.
Okay, and here it is, the final breakdown. And honestly, this is genuinely surprising. That aerobic system, the endurance engine, contributed a massive 66% of the total energy, 2/3. The explosive rocket fuel system was next at 30%, and that lactic acid system that causes all the burn, a tiny, tiny 4%.
So what this really means, plain and simple, is that despite looking so explosive on the surface, the aerobic endurance engine is the single most dominant power source in a Taekwondo match, and it's not even close.
Which of course leads to the big question. How? How is that even possible? How can a sport that's defined by these split-second attacks be fueled primarily by our endurance system? It just doesn't seem to add up.
Well, the answer comes down to a really simple ratio that the researchers found when they analyzed all that film. It was a consistent pattern of 1 to 7.
Get this, for every single second of high-intensity action, an attack, a block, some rapid footwork, there were, on average, 7 seconds of low-intensity activity, stuff like stepping, bouncing, or just pausing. And in those 7 seconds, that aerobic endurance engine is working like crazy in the background, rapidly recharging the rocket fuel so it's ready for the next explosion.
So what's the big takeaway for athletes and coaches? What does this all mean? Well, if that endurance engine is this important, it kind of flips the whole philosophy of how to train effectively on its head.
The science really points to 2 clear priorities. First, you absolutely need to train that alactic rocket fuel system for maximum explosive power, no doubt. But, and this is a big but, it is just as important that you train the aerobic endurance engine. You have to improve your ability to recover between those bursts. The better your recovery, the more high-powered kicks you can throw deep into the final round.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. The researchers themselves spelled it out perfectly in their conclusion. They said that coaches should focus their training on the anaerobic, alactic, and aerobic systems and actually limit training that targets that middle, lactic acid system. Why? Because it's simply not a major factor when it comes to competition.
And just to put this into perspective, this isn't some weird fluke that's unique to Taekwondo. The same study points to similar research in karate, which found an even higher aerobic contribution, almost 78%.
These intermittent, explosive martial arts are, at their core, aerobic galactic sports.
So what this gives us is a whole new set of rules for understanding what it actually takes to win in the ring. It's not just about how hard you can kick. It's so much more than that.
So let's just recap the big takeaways here. First, Taekwondo is an aerobic alactic sport. It's a puzzle of endurance and power. Second, your endurance engine is what literally fuels your explosive power by constantly recharging it. Think of it like a generator for your lightning strikes. Which means, third, that the ability to recover quickly is the ability to attack again with full force. And finally, smart training focuses on both sides of the coin, the explosive bursts and the aerobic recovery that lets you do it over and over.
And that leaves us with one final, powerful question to think about. Whether you're an athlete, a coach, or just a fan of the sport, are you training your recovery as seriously as you're training your attack? Because, as the science shows us, that's where the real secret weapon is hidden.